I was gonna do the deal. Is what when Ross put the MMG thing on the table.
Yeah. I got you.
That was just the terms and the way, Ross set up the conversation to start in that building. It was a great opportunity. It was a great situation. I just had a concern with my team getting credit for breaking Nipsey Hussle. So I didn't necessarily want to take that from my team. You know what I'm saying? Everything he done said, he done done, every combo we had, every time I sent a verse, he executed it. So I got a lot of respect for Rose. So I'd have done it off just GP, but I got a team I committed to ahead of time.
Damn.
And I needed to make sure they got the credit for what they did. You know what I mean? That was the only reason. But outside of that, all the other deals, they lacked what the MMG offered, included because it was somebody that understood why Nipsey is valuable without a radio record.
No, I'm saying Lauren introduced me to Puff.
Oh, got you.
I mean, I knew Puff, but it was more of a personal relationship after, we was at Cassie's birthday.
And Nip had no ego. So, you know what I'm saying? Like Nip came to me and said, I want you to mentor me. I want to get into real estate. I want you to teach me all your, like your business secrets. You know what I'm saying? I was like, whenever you got questions, pull up. And then on his last album, people do not know this. Somebody tried to jerk me, but I fixed it. I actually am one of the executive producers of Nipsey Hussle's last album.
Victory Lap.
Yeah, Victory Lap.
So it turns out that Nipsey Hussle's rejection of Rick Ross's deal held way deeper meaning, and right before he got taken out, he exposed everything. Nipsey Hussle wasn't just rapping for a quick come-up, he was building an empire with his own bare hands. That raw independence that made him a legend is the same move that rattled the whole industry. He turned down Rick Ross and MMG when the deal was right there on the table, and some say that decision might have cost him everything. Nipsey wasn't sitting around waiting for no label to hand him a golden ticket. He was grinding straight from the dirt, flipping whatever he could get his hands on just to chase the dream. He even sold off his Lincoln jewelry, dipped from the block, and stacked up enough to buy his own studio equipment. That's the type of sacrifice most rappers only brag about but never actually live. Nipsey wasn't just spitting bars about hustle. He embodied the hustle every single day.
Like I said, my goal was to create a situation where I could walk into one of these majors and operate as a partner.
Right.
And even since my early stuff, I never really was just an artist. I always bought my equipment. From day one, I sold my Lincoln, sold my Rolex, sold my jewelry, left my dope spot, turned it into a studio, bought equipment. My brother matched me. My homeboy bought my Lincoln from me, brought me a trash bag full of cash, bought my rims, my Alpinas. I sold all the things I was functioning off of, took all my money, and my brother matched me. We went to Sam Ash and we bought all the equipment when I was 19. When I was 18, actually.
From day one, Nip saw himself as way more than just another artist. He moved like a CEO, like a man who recognized his worth long before the world ever did. He built all money in with his own crew, putting sweat equity into every single step of the grind. Posters on the streets? Nip paid for that out of pocket. Radio spins? He and his team went in heavy and bought those slots themselves, showing he wasn't waiting for nobody's favor. Nip made it crystal clear he wasn't out here begging for handouts. He wasn't chasing a record deal just to feel put on. He wanted partnerships where he could step into a major office and call shots as an equal. Anything less felt like pure disrespect. In his own words, Nip said he had to raise his profile and stack leverage until he could really justify every demand he was making. CIA, Iterpti, Ishkarpa, labels like Def Jam, Capital, even Atlantic at one point couldn't see the value and straight up passed on him. But instead of folding under the pressure, Nip doubled down on himself, stacking leverage and building momentum until they had absolutely no choice but to respect him everywhere he went.
So, as I was educated in music, that's what the production company does. That's what the label do. I was paying for rent. I was a hustler. I wasn't thinking I was the executive. I was just like, I want to rap. I need a studio. I need equipment. I got to. But we was making these moves already as a production company or as an executive or as a label to facilitate me as an artist. So the money was coming from my brother, from myself. The decisions was coming from my team, myself. The posters was being stapled up by us. The radio promo, we was going up there and buying the radio spots. We was booking out the House of Blues. We was doing all the things that a label do. So once I got educated to the way that the deals get structured, it would be disrespectful for us to expect anything other than a partnership, because we been had sweat equity, we been had money invested.
Yes, sir.
We been operating as not only the creative but also the administrator. So it would be against the grain of reality to go into a situation outside of that.
And how that felt was dangerous in this cutthroat industry. The whole game is built on control. Labels want pawns, not kings. Nipsey flat out refused to play by their rules. He wasn't just trying to rap, he was out here rewriting the entire playbook. And in a business where independence is treated like open rebellion, Nipsey was already painting a target on his back. Then Rick Ross came knocking with that Maybach Music Group offer. Most rappers would have jumped at it without even thinking twice. MMG was on fire, Ross had industry respect locked in, and signing under his wing meant an instant cosign and heavy exposure. But Nipsey wasn't most rappers. He sat down with Ross, chopped it up face to face, and admitted straight up he respected Ross as a hustler, said everything Ross promised, he actually delivered. Every verse Ross dropped, Nip saw him executed in real life.
Atlantic, you already know they tradition, they make household names.
Yeah, man.
And they've been successful doing that for years.
But being so successful on your own.
Right.
That's why when I saw this announcement, I was like, man.
Yeah.
Like Nip didn't just walk in there.
Nah, we've been trying to land on the terms that we landed on for some years.
Yeah.
So it just was about me raising my leverage and my profile to where I could really justify what I was asking for.
Yeah.
And you know, I respect that. Like if I come in here and make a request, you gotta, and they, you know, the answer is like, you ain't worth that shit. You gotta go.
Yeah, gotta go get it.
It's possible, but you gotta work for
Sometimes
that.
you gotta show and tell people your worth too. Did Atlantic Pack, they passed on you earlier, right?
Yeah. I said Drake passed, Def Jam, Capital Atlantic too. Thought that I'd be dead or doing life because what I rap is true. So I was just talking about all the labels that I walked in them buildings and played music before I, you know, like I said, had value. And some of them felt it, some of them didn't get it, but I just was referencing taking those meetings and how that felt.
Ross wasn't blind either. He spotted Nipsey's value without needing some radio-friendly hit to prove it. He recognized a street king in the making, a leader with his own blueprint. That's exactly why the deal looked perfect on paper. But Nipsey turned it down not out of disrespect for Ross, but because of something way deeper. Loyalty. See, Nip had a squad that broke him, invested in him, and pushed his name when majors laughed him out the room, and he wasn't about to let some big label swoop in and steal credit that belonged to his day ones. In his own words, he said he didn't want to take that from my team, and that loyalty was the only real reason he walked away from the MMG deal.
I was gonna do the deal. Is what when Ross put the MMG thing on the table.
Yeah, I got you.
That was just the terms and the way, you know, Ross set up the conversation to start in that building. It was a great opportunity. It was a great situation. I just had a concern with my team getting credit for breaking Nipsey Hussle. So I didn't necessarily want to take that from my team.
Damn.
I got a team I committed to ahead of time.
Damn.
And I needed to make sure they got the credit for what they did. You know what I mean? That was the only reason.
But think about that for a second. Most dudes would have signed on the spot just for the flashy chain, the press run, and the clout of standing next to Ross. But Nipsey, he doubled down on independence, betting everything on his own squad and vision. Instead of chasing industry validation, Nip carved his own lane, and that move made him one of the rarest breed in the rap game. Loyalty over fame, principle over paper. But let's keep it real. Ross didn't take that rejection lightly. Some believe he felt flat out disrespected. Nipsey admired him, no question, but he refused to fold. And since Ross was locked in tight with Diddy, whispers say the story didn't stop there. Because once Puff entered the picture, things got a whole lot messier. Word is that rejection may have played a bigger role than anyone realized in what came next. And here's where it spiraled even further. The moment Lauren London introduced Nipsey to Diddy. At first, people swore it was a blessing, Nip finally getting in the same rooms as a mogul like Puff. But over time, folks started to view it very differently. Word on the street is that the introduction was the real beginning of the end. Jaguar Wright even said it straight. Lauren introduced Nipsey to Diddy.
Hook up with the biggest rapper at the time. Everything's great. By the way, isn't she? Lauren is the one that introduced Nip to Diddy. Diddy couldn't even get to Nip, even though he had ties in L.A. It was Lauren that brought Nip to him.
And even Nipsey confirmed it himself during that unforgettable sit-down on the Breakfast Club, leaving no room for doubt.
No, I'm saying Lauren introduced me to Puff.
Oh, got you.
I mean, I knew Puff, but it was more of a personal relationship after, we was at Cassie's birthday.
So fans started asking the hard questions that nobody wanted to say out loud. Was Lauren really loyal to Nip, or was she secretly playing both sides the whole time? The timeline started looking real suspicious. For one, she even admitted she went to a so-called death seminar before Nipsey was killed, like she was prepping herself for loss before it even went down, almost as if she knew something was coming.
I went to a seminar about death.
Okay, you have to tell me. Were you
Oh my
just telling
God.
me this now?
I know, yeah.
Please share, please share. Why?
I have a friend.
Why were you there, and what did you learn?
I learned that no one really dies, and that, it's just an experience in the physical form, and we're attached to our personalities, but that we're just souls, and that we continue and continue and continue. And if you have a spiritual relationship with someone on earth, you will have one with them when you leave earth. So I did this 2-day seminar on death. So.
And this was how long ago?
I had to be 25.
What sent you there?
Do
you find that weird though?
I'm weird.
No, it's not weird that you would go. It's almost like you were preparing yourself for what you would have to deal with.
Well, I told you I didn't have such a connection to earth at a young age.
I know, but you don't find that as you were preparing yourself for what you were gonna have to deal with.
Well, that we're all gonna have to deal with.
And when Nip passed, it was Puff who stepped up comforting her, whispering, "Look, boo, you have shown everybody what it looks like to hold a man down and love him. Now show them what it looks like when it all crumbles. That's your responsibility." Fans caught it immediately. Boo, the exact same nickname Nip used for her. That wasn't just odd, it was downright disrespectful. People instantly started connecting dots, suspecting Diddy might have had deeper ties with Lauren than anyone realized. Old pics even resurfaced, showing Lauren and Diddy looking way too comfortable, while Nipsey was right there in the background looking like the third wheel. And then comes Victory Lap, Nipsey's dream project. Matter of fact, Diddy wasn't just around, he actually helped with Victory Lap, adding another suspicious layer to the story.
Nip had no ego. So, you know what I'm saying? Like Nip came to me and said, I want you to mentor me, I want to get into real estate, I want you to teach me all your, your business secrets, you know what I'm saying? I was like, whenever you got questions, pull up. And then on his last album, people do not know this. Somebody tried to jerk me, but I fixed it. I actually am one of the executive producers of Nipsey Hussle's last album.
Victory Lap.
Yeah, Victory Lap.
But according to Gene Deal, Nip asked Diddy to help him shape the album, just like Biggie's Life After Death. That move, which seemed genius at the time, turned out to be a major mistake that carried consequences nobody could have imagined.
Now, you taking a spiritual person who's asking for something. He said, I wanted that same feel as life after death. That same feel was that Biggie got, and he went on to sell about 10 million albums, or 10 million copies. I was saying, you gotta watch what you say to demons, because it just might come true.
Think about that. Biggie's classic dropped right after he was killed, and fans now see it as a chilling parallel. They say that move let Puff get his hooks in deep, pulling Nip into his orbit, having him around the mansion more than the studio. To a lot of people, that was the setup. And here's where Ross slides back into the picture. Remember, Ross and Puff were tight. Folks speculate that when Nip turned down that MMG deal, Ross never forgot. Combine that bruise to the ego with Puff's controlling ways, and you've got the perfect recipe for betrayal. Some people believe Ross allegedly linked up with Puff behind the scenes. And here's the part nobody likes to admit. Nipsey was a rising threat, too smart, too independent, too revolutionary. He didn't need gatekeepers. He was building his empire brick by brick, showing the hood you could own your masters, run your business, and still win big. But the industry don't like kings. They only want pawns. And Nipsey wasn't moving like no pawn. So yeah, Eric Holder pulled the trigger. He's doing 60 years, but folks say he was just the fall guy, a pawn on somebody else's board. The real chess players were in the background, pulling strings, making sure Nipsey never reached that next level. One dude wrote, Nip was so focused on maintaining his persona, he didn't even see it coming. Another wrote, if Nipsey signed that deal, he would have been alive, but Nip wanted to be what he was destined to be. That's why he left the deal and held it down for his crew. And a lot of people respect that forever. While this other user wrote, the man said he turned down MMG when he was relatively unknown, and the deal meant so much because he wanted his team to get the recognition they deserved. But what do you think? Did Nipsey's loyalty and independence put the ultimate target on his back? Was Lauren really playing both sides? And was Diddy pulling strings behind the curtain this whole time? Say what you think in the comments, and don't forget to smash that like button, share this video, and hit subscribe, cause this story is far from over, and the next video popping up is one you do not want to miss.